The ground trembles beneath your feet. A shadow looms, vast and unstoppable, 6 tons of muscle and bone, crowned with ivory spears that could rip through steel. By every law of nature, the encounter should end in one outcome: your fragile body, shattered, erased in seconds. Yet history tells a different story. Again and again, across continents and millennia, creatures that should have been untouchable fell before beings with no claws, no fangs, no natural armor. How did a species so weak, so unequipped, turn the tables on predators built for perfection? The answer lies not in brute force, but in something far more dangerous: calculation, patience, and an uncanny ability to turn the laws of physics and psychology into weapons. This is the tale of how a vulnerable ape became the deadliest hunter the world has ever known, and how giants that ruled the earth for millions of years were brought to their knees by minds sharper than any tooth, by hands that shaped wood and stone into destiny. And the most shocking part, the method of victory was as terrifying as it was inevitable. They called it the Age of Giants, a time when Earth's landscapes crawled with beasts so massive that even the strongest predators of today would have looked like scavenging pests beside them. Woolly mammoths marched in herds that shook the ground. Short-faced bears loomed taller than a doorway. Saber-toothed cats stalked the shadows with blades for teeth. And ground sloths the size of buses clawed their way through forests. To stand against them armed with nothing more than sharpened wood should have been suicide. A mammoth's leg could crush bone as if it were paper. A cave lion's jaws could snap a spine before a scream left your lips. Yet buried beneath layers of earth and time, evidence whispers another story: humans did not just survive, they triumphed. And the question that keeps echoing through every discovery is how. The math never added up. A 150-pound human against a 12,000-pound mammoth was not a battle. It was annihilation waiting to happen. Our claws are nothing but brittle nails. Our teeth barely fit for jerky. Our skin tears with a cat's scratch. Our speed is laughable compared to the predators that shared our world. By all logic, we were prey species walking on borrowed time. And yet, the fossil record holds secrets. In a coal mine in Germany, archaeologists uncovered spears carved with such balance and precision that even modern athletes testing replicas admitted they flew like weapons engineered by experts. Around them, the butchered remains of 50 horses told a chilling truth: humans had mastered the hunt. This was not luck, nor desperation, nor a miracle, it was strategy. Someone, hundreds of thousands of years ago, had already unlocked physics. Without ever naming it, had already learned that the world's biggest killers could be brought down not with strength, but with patience and planning. What kind of mind spends hours carving wood into aerodynamic perfection, shaping a tool not for chopping or scraping but for flight, for impact, for war? What kind of brain looks at a predator that once hunted us and dares to plot its downfall? This is where the story twists. Because the moment humans picked up weapons designed not for defense, but for attack, the tables began to turn. We weren't merely running anymore, we were orchestrating death itself. Stay with me, because the truth about how fragile hunters toppled titans is darker and more ingenious than you've been led to believe. And it reveals something about our species that is both awe-inspiring and terrifying. We were never meant to be preyed for long. Picture the scene. A mammoth thunders forward, a mountain of fur and muscle, tusks glinting like ivory. To meet that charge, head-on with a thrown spear would be madness, yet scattered across ancient kill sites is evidence of something more ingenious, something almost sinister in its brilliance. The Clovis hunters of North America did not hurl their weapons into the storm, they planted them. Angled in the ground like a deadly forest of stakes, these spears turned the mammoth's own fury into its undoing. A creature weighing 6 tons, charging even at a modest speed, generated forces no human arm could match. And when tusk and hide met the hardened stone point of a braced spear, physics itself became the weapon. The impact drove the blade deep, shattering bone and piercing organs, wounds too catastrophic for even a titan to survive. Archaeologists studying fractured spear tips found telltale signatures: breaks, consistent with forces far greater than any human throw. Some points entered from angles impossible to achieve by hand, suggesting they had waited, silent and patient, for the beast to impale itself. Think about what this means. Our ancestors weren't gambling their lives in reckless throws. They were engineers who understood leverage, trajectory, and momentum centuries before the words existed. They were psychologists too, predicting the path of a panicked beast, working together to funnel it into the killing zone. It wasn't bravery that won these battles, it was cold calculation, the kind that transforms weakness into a trap. And the brilliance did not end there. Once a spear was planted, hunters could step back, retreat into safety, while the giant destroyed itself on invisible mathematics. This was not just hunting. It was strategy elevated to something almost mythological. With every successful kill, humans were rewriting their place in the food chain. No longer did they scatter in terror at the approach of a predator. Now they laid the ambush. Every tusk unearthed with a fluted point lodged in its marrow, every fractured spear recovered from sites like Blackwater, Draw, or Colby, tells the same chilling story. Mankind had learned to weaponize inevitability itself. The mammoth's greatest strength, its size, its power, its unstoppable charge was turned against it. That's the pattern you'll see again and again in this story. When nature stacked the deck, humans reshuffled it. When the odds screamed impossibility, they discovered a loophole. The planted spear was just one chapter in a saga of strategies that took us from trembling prey to masters of monsters. And if you think turning a mammoth's rage into a death sentence is shocking, wait until you hear how humans flipped the script on predators that once feasted on us, transforming terror into trophies and fangs into tools. For millions of years, the rules of the wild were simple. Big cats hunted us, not the other way around. Fossilized bones of our ancestors carry their signature deep punctures from saber-shaped teeth, claw marks carved across ribs, skeletons, gnawed in caves that once belonged to predators, not people. To walk in tall grass was to risk becoming a meal. To huddle in the dark was to pray that glowing eyes passed you by. And yet, something unthinkable happened. At sites like Atapuerca in Spain, 400,000 years old, archaeologists found lion bones, with cut marks, deliberate incisions left by stone blades. These weren't the leftovers of scavengers. They were first cuts, fresh kills. Humans had not stumbled upon a carcass. They had killed the lion. The psychological leap is staggering. To look at a predator that for countless generations defined terror itself and decide that will feed us, that will clothe us, that will adorn us, is more than boldness, it is the birth of a new apex predator. And it didn't stop with lions. In other sites, the bones of scimitar-toothed cats show signs not of nature's accidents, but of butchery. One humerus was even shaped into a tool, its deadly owner reduced to a hammer in human hands. The shift is almost symbolic. Creatures that once wielded dominance became instruments of human progress. Archaeologists suggest predator remains may have carried a special meaning, a kind of prehistoric badge of honor. Anyone could bring home a deer, hide, but walking into camp wearing the fang of a saber, that was status, that was power, that was proof you had stared death in the face and claimed victory. The ripple effect is written in the fossil record. By the late Pleistocene, many carnivore species showed signs of starvation, their diets collapsing, as humans claimed the same prey herds they relied on. In Labrie tar pits, saber-toothed cats kept their killing ways until the bitter end. But their world was shrinking, their prey vanishing, their dominance eroding under relentless human competition. And remember this, humans did not need to be faster or stronger than these predators. They needed only to work together, to set the trap, to strike when advantage tilted their way. Picture the first hunter draping the hide of a lion over his shoulders, stepping into a firelit camp with eyes that said, "The hunter has become the hunted, and the hunted has become something else entirely." This was not evolution through teeth and claws, it was evolution through imagination, and it made every predator on Earth vulnerable. But the story doesn't stop at the psychological revolution. What made humans truly unstoppable was not just daring to kill predators, but an anatomical gift that no beast could match: the endurance that turned the chase itself into a weapon. And what happened next is the part that would terrify any creature unlucky enough to be pursued by us. Speed was the language of predators, a currency dominated by cheetahs, wolves, and lions. For them, a hunt was won or lost in seconds, in the explosive burst of muscle that either crushed prey or ended in exhausted retreat. But humans rewrote the rules of the chase in a way no animal could counter. We were slow in the sprint, yes, but in endurance, we were monsters. Our bodies, strangely fragile on the surface, concealed adaptations that turned us into long-distance executioners. With millions of sweat glands spread across nearly hairless skin, we could bleed heat from our bodies long after furred predators had collapsed under their own rising temperatures. Our tendons acted like springs, our hips and knees aligned for efficient stride, our gluteus maximus, those massive muscles that define our upright stance, powered us, step after relentless step. Even our skulls evolved with a hidden weapon, the nuchal ligament, a strap of tissue at the back of the neck, holding our heads steady as we ran and kept running. Picture the horror of it from the prey's eyes. A kudu bolts across the savannah, leaving lions in the dust, only to glance back and see a figure still coming, steady and unshaken. An hour passes, then 2, then 5. The sun blazes overhead. Lungs burn, legs stumble, the animal's own body turning into a furnace it cannot cool, and still the figure approaches. This was persistence hunting, a nightmare forged from patience. Anthropologists in the Kalahari have seen hunters pursue antelope for 15 miles, in blistering heat, until the creature simply collapsed, unable to rise. The humans walked up, calm, collected, victorious. Now apply that same endurance to larger prey. A spear wound in a mammoth might not kill instantly, but a bleeding, limping giant could be tracked for miles, followed for days if necessary, until exhaustion tipped the balance. No predator could match this strategy. Not lions, not wolves, not saber-tooths. They struck fast or not at all. Humans struck slow, methodical, inevitable. This endurance didn't just fuel our hunts, it shaped our psychology. We became creatures who could fixate on a goal and pursue it endlessly, refusing to stop until it was ours. The same obsession that drove us after wounded prey now drives explorers across oceans, scientists across decades of research, athletes across marathon finish lines. It is persistence, branded into our DNA, and it was our most terrifying weapon of all. But here's the twist: the endurance that let us chase and kill became even deadlier when combined with something else: cooperation, language, and the ability to turn a group of fragile primates into a war machine capable of dismantling giants. And what came next would turn the very bones of mammoths into monuments of human supremacy. Alone, a human was fragile. Together, they became something else entirely. Archaeological sites in the Czech Republic reveal haunting evidence of this. Truth settlements built from the bones of mammoths, walls made of skulls, roofs formed from ribs, tusks standing like pillars. One hut alone contained the remains of 95 mammoths, a staggering testament to collective power. No single hunter could achieve this. It required coordination, roles divided with precision, trackers to follow herds, ambushers to drive them, builders to raise structures, firekeepers to maintain the flame. Fire itself was a revolution, a weapon as alien to predators as it was divine to prey. With fire, humans carved circles of safety at night, creating barriers that lions would not cross. With fire, they drove herds toward cliffs, into traps, or across ambush points, transforming the chaos of the wild into a battlefield of human design. And then came the most audacious move of all, recruiting predators to their side. Wolves that once hunted us were transformed into partners, sharpened into dogs that could track scents invisible to us. Chase down prey too fast for our legs, corner animals too strong for our spears. Cave art from Saudi Arabia, 8,000 years old, shows leashed dogs running alongside hunters, proof that this alliance was not accidental, but engineered. The human dog pack became the ultimate hunting machine, blending endurance, tools, fire, and strategy into a synergy no species on Earth could withstand. A hunting party at the end of the Ice Age was a spectacle of calculated terror. Men and women moving in formation, armed with spears hardened by fire, shadows flickering in torchlight, voices guiding one another with early language, dogs circling at the edges, and ahead of them, a giant unknowingly walking into its last day. No creature, no matter how massive or fierce, was safe, and the results were catastrophic. Everywhere humans went, the great beasts vanished. Australia lost nearly 90% of its large animals within a few thousand years of our arrival. Giant wombats, monstrous reptiles, marsupial lions, all gone. In the Americas, mammoths, saber-tooths, direwolves, and ground sloths followed. The same fate, Madagascar's giant lemurs, New Zealand's towering moa, island dwarf elephants, all erased in the same relentless pattern. Climate shifts played a role, yes, but those giants had survived countless ice ages before. The one factor they had never faced was us. We were too adaptable, too persistent, too united. A species that turned fire into a weapon, predators into allies, and bones into houses was not simply another hunter, it was an extinction engine. Yet within that devastation lies a paradox. The very skills that toppled monsters also built civilizations. The cooperation that killed mammoths also raised temples. The ingenuity that lit fires in the savannah now lights cities across the world. But to understand how fully we reshaped the earth, and how deeply those ancient hunts still echo in us, we need to look at what legacy remains in our bodies, our minds, and our bones. Once this planet belonged to giants, mammoths, cats, towering bears, and humans. Small, fragile, slow. By all logic, we should have been prey. But the story turned. We planted spears in the ground, letting mammoths kill themselves on their own power. We hunted lions and saber-tooths, wearing their fangs as trophies. And our greatest weapon wasn't strength, it was endurance. We could run for hours, sweating, cooling, step after relentless step, until the prey collapsed in exhaustion. With fire, with teamwork, and with wolves at our side, we became unstoppable. The giants are gone. What remains is the question. If imagination made us masters of monsters, can it also save us from ourselves?